Hello and welcome to Moneylife News and Views. I'm Debashis Basu. An extraordinary bullishness has gripped the entire Indian stock market. The benchmark Nifty has crossed 20,000, braving many negatives all around us, mainly the macroeconomic kinds, such as high interest rates in the Western world, falling global liquidity, and also continuous selling by foreign institutional investors. Not that FIIs matter anymore, but there is a sentimental angle attached to their continuous selling. Still, the market has kept on going up. However, the real story in all this is an extraordinary rally in the stock prices of smaller companies. People call them mid cap or small cap, actually small and micro cap companies, which are shooting up like wild weeds for the sixth month running, despite a bit of a crash yesterday. From early April, when the rally started, the Nifty is up about 15% or so, while Nifty 500, that NSE 500, has rallied more than 21%. Meanwhile, Nifty microcap has zoomed more than 60%. And here is an important pattern among the biggest gainers. These are all directly linked to massive government spending that started a few years ago, about 2 years ago, actually. This includes railway modernization, which benefits stocks like Jupiter Wagons, which supply railway bogies, Texmaco Rail, same business, Titagar Rail, same business. They're all up 200 to 300%. Government enterprises, which supplies to the defense, that is, the shipbuilding companies like Mazgaon Dock or Indian Railway Finance Corporation, Rural Electrification Corporation, Cochin Shipyard, Garden Reach Shipyard, and all of these defense companies. The third category are infrastructure companies benefiting from government plans. And these are like companies like Patel Engineering, almost up 250%, construction company with a focus on hydroelectric projects. A small company called Genus Power, which is supposed to be into smart metering, which is again a government scheme to convert all meters into smart meters, up more than 200%, and HPL Power, a small Hyderabad-based company, which is into batteries, railway signaling, and defense products, and so on. All of these gains are extraordinary, and despite, as I said yesterday's crash, the returns are just eye-popping. Now, these stocks, as I mentioned, are running up for a strong reason. Strong and simultaneous government initiatives in multiple directions, something that we have never seen before. Now, in the last budget, the government has allocated more than 10 lakh crore for infrastructure projects, of which the Railway Ministry's allocation was 2.4 lakh crore, which is itself a 75% leap over FY 22-23. There is also a defense production and export promotion policy of 2020, which has set a revenue target of 1,75,000 crore by 24-25, implying a 15% compounded annual growth rate between 2019 and 2025. Procurement from domestic industry within that would double to 1,40,000 crore by 24-25. The government shipyards, as I mentioned, Garden Reach, Cochin, Mazagaon, have their orders books full for the next few years and getting more and more inquiries. Now, the significant thing is that these are allocations, so these are plans and programs, but they're actually being spent liberally. If, for instance, pipes and tube companies are doing well, it is because of Jal Jeevan Mission and, of course, civil construction, which is a basis for infrastructure building. Companies doing government work are actually getting paid very quickly compared to the past. It's a significant departure. For instance, a small listed company called Zen Technologies actually announced in conference call recently saying that they get paid within 45 days from the government, thanks to the efforts of the Defense Ministry. These are the reasons why companies from three segments, defense, railway, urban infrastructure, including road, power, metro rail, water projects, and sanitation, are in a mad bull market. But what explains the vertical rise of small and micro-cap companies within the fact that there is, of course, a lot of opportunities in terms of government spending, but this is there before as well. Government has been spending money for all these years. Now, some of these companies have never had it so good in the past. In the past 2 decades, actually, the Indian market was driven up by 4 main sectors due to demographic tailwinds. And these four sectors were software, pharmaceuticals, consumer goods, and banking and financial services. They benefited also from lack of government intervention. They were left alone. And for the first three of them, which is the software and consumer goods, software, pharmaceuticals, actually benefited from a lot of exports as well. And the other two benefited from the increasing, the larger and larger base of consumers in the domestic market. Now, unfortunately, all other segments of the Indian economy were struggling. Indian smaller private companies never benefited from well-managed, strong and secular growth due to government spending and schemes. Now, all of the spending that happened in the 2005 to 2012 period, mainly, were all limited to for certain sectors, which is power, mining, and so on, and roads. Now, in each of these sectors, all big projects were cornered by shady business houses. They walked away with these projects, and they were supported by corrupt bureaucrats as well as banks who helped them put up gold-plated projects, which then collapsed, partly because the government was not paying up properly for completed projects, but also because of gross inefficiency and corruption. Today, it's a little bit of a different story. Massive spending on defense, metro rail, and tremendous push for renewable energy and production-linked incentives to boost manufacturing in 14 sectors has led to a much more broad-based and significantly larger opportunities for all. Many private companies operating in these areas are small. So when they get up, they've actually never had this kind of opportunity in every case, the order book of theirs is a multiple times of the annual sales. So this actually has led to a sharp upsurge in the stock prices of this group of companies, and the market is confidently discounting several years of growth, which they think is a done deal. So for the past year or more, we are witnessing a new paradigm of growth and development model that everybody had talked about and PM Modi had talked about, but did nothing to unleash in the first 6 to 7 years of BJP leadership. Now, obviously, the question has to be in everybody's mind is, will this be sustainable? The answer is not very simple. Well, it is definite that there is a certain amount of visibility in terms of order book, but order books have to translate into sales. And that is in the future. Well, all things remaining equal, yes, these stocks will keep riding, going up higher and higher, but all things do not remain equal. The current model remains hostage to multiple factors in the absence of efforts to reduce overhead costs, logistics, and other frictional costs of doing business. Now, in order to create a sustained self-reinforcing cycle of growth and demand, what should happen is that the tax revenues have to remain buoyant, because these are all government spending. The government tax revenues is really the source of it, and that revenue source has to remain very, very strong as much as we have seen in the last couple of years. Now, revenue from goods and services is growing in double digits year on year, but it seemed to be plateauing in the last 3 to 4 months. Maybe it's a temporary thing, we will know. Direct revenues are flat for the first 4 months this year, even as the government total expenditure has jumped 23%, thanks to a 52% rise in the government's capital expenditure, which is all going to a lot of private sector people in terms of construction and other orders. Secondly, the value of rupee, which indicates the competitive strength of the economy, is weak and is getting weaker under the pressure of higher oil prices and inherent lack of our export competitiveness. 3, the government spending usually lack oversight. Now, it seems all very rosy today, but there is an inherent problem in governance when you're spending such huge sums of money in essentially a corrupt system like India has. Now, only time will tell us the net impact of the massive spending that's going on various urban infrastructure, railways, and all of that. The benefit of defense expenditure is easier to visualize or calculate in terms of lower imports, higher exports, and expanded domestic manufacturing. For the rest of them, as I said, government revenues have to keep buoyant and the spending has to be genuine and not gold-plated. In effect, while the corporate sector, as you can see, has benefited enormously in terms of skyrocketing stock prices, thanks to the massive government expenditure, investors would do well to keep an eye on the macroeconomic picture and government finances, not just on corporate profits, but companies do not know usually what's going to happen in future. If you ask them, how is the next quarter looking, next year is looking, they'll, in all fairness and truthfully, they'll tell you looking very good because we have so many orders. But what's going to happen over the next year is probably going to be unknown to everybody, including the companies doing this business. After all, as smart investors would remind you, everything is cyclical. And right now, we have seen only the up cycle. When the cycle is running up, nobody foresees or considers what will turn the cycle down, but cycles always do turn down. Trees don't grow to the skies. And cycles, especially those created by the government, are most certain to turn down sometime or the other. And with that, a lot of small and micro cap companies would be in difficulty. But that's well into the future. All I'm saying is that it's not such simple as it looks now when the stocks are shooting up to the skies. Thanks for watching. And if you liked it, please do share and subscribe to this channel if you already haven't. Thank you.